It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.
Hey, good evening, guys. How's everybody? Just straighten up my camera a little bit. What's happening? How is everybody tonight? Let me throw on some music. That's what we need. Music. Nope, not quite loud. Sorry about that. Hopefully I don't blow anyone's ears up. Could have done. Good evening. It feels like bad deja vu. It feels like really bad deja vu for me. I'm just making Desolation Marines again. Already finished 5. I get loads more to do. Hello, Damien. Hello, Water Thunder. Chris, what's happening? Nathan, good evening. Todd, good evening. Steel Rain, good evening, dude. Congratulations on finding out you're going to be a father. Big news. Big news from Steel Rain. Congrats, Steel, dude. It's very cool. Very cool. Okay. I mean, you'll be as exhausted as I am all the time, so you got that to look forward to. No, honestly, it's good. Nathan's laminating some Blood Angels cards. I need to get, I was thinking about this, I need to print out some, like, Battle Shock tokens. Or something of that nature. I was going to try and maybe make some tomorrow night. I haven't made any yet. I need Battle Shock tokens. I probably need some sort of Oath of Moment card. Am I going 30 Desolation Marines? I only own 10. So I guess we'll make the 10 that I own right now. And we'll take it from there, right? I think they're ludicrous for how much you pay for them points wise. I think they're way undercosted. I think they could easily have been like 30 per model and they'd probably still be okay. If you compare them to Sangre Guard, it's kind of ludicrous. I was going to say, I bet you a squad of Desolation Marines with some buffs could almost like take out a whole squad of Sangre Guard indirect in one turn. Like, that's how strong they are. Oh, David, thank you so much. Pre-10th edition beers.
David Bain donated £50 via Super Chat. Free 10th beers.
I was going to say, this is going to be a very good month for me on YouTube. Thank you so much, dude. That's very generous. I mean, that's like 8 more Desolation Marines right there, David. Because I was looking on eBay, it's like $30 for 5 more. I mean, I am really tempted. I think they're going to probably change them. And if they change them before I go to a tournament, that would be really annoying. So maybe I'll just do 10. I still think 10 is really good. You're on the wrong account, David? Well, I mean, Super Chat came through right just fine. Thank you so much. Surfstorm, good evening. Mongo, how are you? So have any of you guys played 10th again? Or again, yet? Anyone played a game of 10th? I saw a few people are starting to get their first games of 10th in. If you've been living under a rock, me and Miles are going to be streaming 10th all day Saturday. So we got to pick up the box in the morning. We think the shop opens about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And then we need like an hour, maybe, to get the stream set up. And I know the secondaries are different. And we gotta figure out what the hell we're doing. I'm going to take my laptop along because I'm going to forget all the rules, of course. Doesn't even know the rules. But yeah, me and Miles are going to try and stream all day Saturday. Someone mail this man a hobby knife. I like this knife, dude. I've been using this knife for the longest time. It's a good knife. This knife is probably older than some of the people that watch the channel, honestly. I think I've had it since like 2005, maybe. So it's a good knife. It does mold lines. I'm happy with it. They do need to change the points on the Sanguinary Guard. Steel Ranger, 100% right. They are way too expensive. I don't even know if 33 points per model might have been too much. Maybe because they're OC2, they could be how to buff Morgo says, how do you buff Desolators to strength 12 in the Sanguinius detachment? I don't think you can buff them. I think what's strong about them is their indirect fire is kind of ridiculous. I think indirect fire, it's kind of funny because they finally got indirect fire into a good place in 9th edition, where it was like there was that extra -1 that and the extra +1 to the cover save, and then they've sort of rolled all that back, and indirect fire is broken again. Morgo finished painting 10 Desolators today. Congrats, dude. I've got 5 sprayed over here. So I've got 5 sprayed, and I've got a few more coming. And I got some Blood Angel specific stuff on my ones because I always like doing my Blood Angel specific things. So yeah, I was only going to run 5 on my list, but if they're absolutely bonkers, which it seems like, looking at the math, they are absolutely bonkers, I might run 10 in a couple of lists. I really can't decide if I'm going to buy 10 more. I feel like it's going too all in on them. And anytime you do buy like that many models of one type, they inevitably get nerfed. Like, look at Andrew and his Rucka trucks last year. You got to run them to one tournament and then they were nerfed. I don't know why they've put Desolation Marines back to... They're too strong at the moment for what you pay for them. David, 10 months of a membership. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. Good evening, Fox. Where's Dante? I don't know, man. Where is Dante? I mean... Is Dante? I'm working on him. Soon. Just got him yesterday, actually. Big shout out to Mike, the Great Angel, for sending one over. I put a Bloodthirster head on his base. His base was looking a little bit barren, wasn't it? And he needed some wings. So been working on that as well. I've filmed all that, and I'm gonna make a video. I just haven't. Harry says that knife was older than him. Fair enough. It is a very old knife. I've had it since probably before 2005, so it's probably going on 20 years. I have a bunch of hobby knives. I just prefer this one, honestly. It does everything. Candace says, John, 10 Desolation Marines and a Whirlwind feels like a good balance. I mean, that's what I had in my list, Candace. I think throw in a squad of Incursors or a land speeder there, and then you can get +1 to hit. I also did consider throwing in a Firstborn Dreadnought, because the Firstborn Dreadnought will give them reroll 1s. I have a super old Firstborn Dreadnought. This one's actually metal. I looked this bad boy out. This is most definitely a metal model. I don't know if you can well, you can probably tell because the legs are just a single part. It's just one big piece of metal. You can see the join there between the top and the bottom. So this is a... if the hobby knife was older, then this Dreadnought is probably like 35 years old. Would that be right? Or is it just 30? Maybe not quite 35, but... What would it be? 2013? Yeah, I would say this Dreadnought's maybe not 30, but maybe like 28 years old or something, this Dreadnought. But I thought they were retiring this Dreadnought, this missile launcher... double las gun Dreadnought, but he's in the Codex, and he gives it aura of reroll 1s to... So if you wanted to run a bunch of Desolation Marines, hit on 2s and reroll 1s, then that Dreadnought would be about the only way you can do that, unless of course you use Oath of Moment, and Oath of Moment is kind of broken with... Oath of Moment kind of feels broken with Desolation Marines. Again, if you've not done the maths on it, I'll do it at some point. I'm not going to rush out and do it because I guess they're probably going to nerf it, but I'll do it in like a little while. But yeah, my list that I made, Candice, had the 10, well, it was 5 Desolators, a Whirlwind, and a Land Speeder, but I mean, there's definitely part of me that thinks like I might run 10 I mean, I wouldn't be making the Desolators if I wasn't planning on at least running 10 once. And I cancelled my Dante today. Thank you so much, Mike, for sending me a Dante. So I haven't got the refund yet, but when I get the refund, I guess when I get David super chat $50 tonight. David, thank you so much again for that. Like, it's really tempting to buy like I don't want to go full 30 Desolators, because I mean, like, I get that they're really strong and like 30's just absolutely ridiculous, but like, part of me is really tempted to go for 15. I could go for 15 without feeling too bad. Anyone else thinking about running 2 Predator Destructors? I was thinking about how I deal with Custodes. 9 minus 2/3 is pretty good. I was actually thinking the Predator Annihilator looked pretty good, but the Destructor is not bad either. I think that the Gladiator Lancer looks really good as well. So I only have 1 Gladiator, and now I'm like, damn, do it. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like I only got 1 Gladiator tank, so like I should probably, if I'm gonna buy something, I'm gonna buy something. I feel like I should probably buy that 2nd Gladiator tank, because I feel like that's probably gonna have more life than the Desolators. In terms of like, I don't think they're gonna nerf Gladiator tanks. Holy crap, we finally got a Dante. Yeah, and it wasn't even the one I ordered. It was somebody else. Someone else was so desperate to get Dante, they ordered 2. And they love the channel, and they just sent it to me. How great a community we have. They even put a little post-it note inside. And I filmed myself opening it, and I filmed the post-it note. And a lovely little message to me inside the Dante, which was really nice as well. So, oh, he's in the chat. The Great Angel. There he is. He's literally like... Mike the Great Angel, he's literally like the Sanguinor, right? He just appears when you need something. He appears from the warp with a Dante to hand out to the chapter master, and then disappears back. He appears in times of great need. That's what it is. Mike, you're a superstar. Thank you so much for sending over Dante. How strong is the foot connection on Dante? Do you think it needs pinning? It doesn't need pinning, because the whole... this foot is attached. You're not going to be able to see it very well because I just sprayed the base back, but this whole plastic bit that he sits on is attached to the foot. Like, the foot was on that bit of sprue, and it breaks off like at the knee. I've probably thrown the instructions away last night, unless I put them in the box. Did I put them in the box, or did I throw them away? Oh no, I kept them in the box. Cool, I can show you. See, the whole foot thing is attached. So it actually joins on the knee, and it's quite a decent sized join there, so I don't think it needs pinning at all. The foot attached to this rock is pretty solid. Mike, I've actually positioned this box of Dante behind me. So any next time you watch one of my videos, keep an eye out for it in the background. I've put it somewhere right behind me so people can see it. Thank you so much. My only hesitance on armatures is AP -1. But AP -2, they do serious work. Yeah. I don't know. I think I would try Predators. I think the one thing to say at the moment is, right, it's going to be like a case of like try everything, because everything's changed. Like, I'm actually going to run as much as I think the Gladiator Lancer is good. Hey, War Thunder, thank you so much.
War Thunder donated $10 via super chat.
I was going to say, as much as I think the excuse me, I'll just throw this guy apart. As much as I think that the Gladiator Lancer is going to be really good. The Lancer is the one with the high strength, like the strength 14 laser destroyer. I'm actually going to run the Valiant this week, because it's been a while since I ran the Valiant. The Valiant was the Gladiator that I liked the most when I first got my Gladiator. So So I'm going to run the Valiant this week, and I don't know if anyone noticed, but the multi-melta on the Valiant is strength 10. It's like none of the other multi-meltas in the game are strength 10, but for some reason the Valiant's multi-melta is strength 10. So do what you will with that, I guess. Hopefully your Dante turns up soon, David. Yeah, I mean it's been a tough time to wait for it, honestly. Like I think I was quite frustrated having to wait so long for him. I guess the Leviathan box being having releases so close to Leviathan, I guess, really screwed the release. The only change they make to Oath of Moment is that the rerolls require line of sight. I don't think they'll change Oath of Moment. What I think they'll do is they'll fix indirect fire. It's too strong right now. It's the same situation it was last edition. Indirect fire needs like one more point of modifier. Like, just put that bit back. I think what they tried to do was simplify it, which was fine, but I think they've tried to simplify it one step too far, and indirect fire is too strong again. It needs like that extra, like the extra -1 to hit that stacks on top of the regular -1 to hit if you can't see, or the extra +1 to save. If they do that, then it'll be fixed, and I guess Desolators will not be... They'll still be strong, don't get me wrong. I think they'll still be pretty strong, but they're not going to be broken strong, right? Toasty said he had first game of 10th last night. Sanguiner will be an auto-include. You know what? I'm going to run Sanguiner this weekend. It's a long time since I've ran the Sanguiner. I don't think I ran him at all in 9th edition, Toasty, but I think there is one neat thing that I was thinking about the Sanguiner, and maybe not everybody's picked up on this. He is a lone operative, which means if you're out with 12 inches, he cannot be shot, right? So, and if you use Rapid Ingress, that's the stratagem that lets you come down in your opponent's movement phase. Well, if you come out more than 12 inches away, you can't be charged either, right? So you can literally bring the Sanguiner down 12.1 inches away. He can't be shot by anything. He can't be charged by anything. And then in your turn, you're just going to be able to move 12 inches basically on top of the unit that you wanted to fight. And on the charge, he's going to get like whatever it is, 9 attacks, hitting on 2s, devastating wounds. Lancer's V's Annihilator is my big says Mike. Yeah. What's the points difference? What's the points of an Annihilator? It's like 10 points cheaper than a Lancer. That's quite an interesting comparison, actually. It's going to be so weird seeing people actually want to field Predator tanks. I feel like that hasn't happened in like a decade. I think Librarian Dreadnought's Wings of Sanguinius is a good tool to take down indirect fire units with the likes of aggressors. I mean, potentially. I think it's also a good tool to use with your Desolator units, right? Just throw them around the battlefield. Once you've killed a bunch of stuff in the indirect fire, just be like, I'm just going to place this Desolators a few inches away. War Thunder says, thank you so much for recommending Revel Plastic Glue. Wow, someone on the channel actually said thank you for a recommendation for the glue. Most of the time, War Thunder, I get flamed for using this glue, but I actually really like it. And I've got like, it's cheap as well. Like it's very cheap. It's got a good nozzle. I guess Tamiya's glue is better, but I like this glue. I think anyone watching this channel, right, for high-tech hobby equipment or anything like that, you're watching the wrong channel, guys, because like I'm kind of like I'm using a knife. It's like 25 years old. I'm honestly using my dad's clippers that I stole from his shed like 30 years ago. They're so bad that like these springs sometimes pop out of them. They're so bad, and I mean the only thing that I'm using that's probably semi decent is the glue. But yes, great. Someone likes my glue, War Thunder. You've made my day. Thank you. Normally I get blamed for like it's the same as, you know, like people always flame me for using like really gnarly crappy paintbrushes, and I'm like, I'm just putting on base coats. I don't need to use a perfect paintbrush for this. Henry Phoenix, good evening. What do you mean you don't need Desolation Marines? Every Blood Angels player... Well, I mean, everybody's going to want Desolation Marines now. But I don't know. I mean, 120 points for 5, they're way too cheap. They need to go up to... they can probably be 175 points for 5. They're probably still fine. I think at 120 points per 5, you're just going to get everybody wanting to run them. I think I mean, like I said, they probably can kill a whole squad of Sangre Guard in direct fire. It's probably disgusting. You're better bringing him straight down into close combat than wasting CP. You are, Serenade, but think about it this way, right? Like, if you... Let me get this right. If you go... I was going to say, if you go first, then you can't bring the Sanguinar down in the opponent's first turn, right? Because, obviously, he can't deep strike in turn 1. So you can bring him down for a heroic intervention in turn 2 and turn 3 only. But if you don't bring him down in turn 2, then you run the risk of your opponent going, aha, I will not charge you in turn 3, and thus the Sanguinar will just get killed because he hasn't arrived for deep strike in turn 3. But the way you can counter that, I believe, is rapid ingress. So in turn 3, once your opponent's finished moving, if it looks like they are not going to be charging you, like if they have not set up for any charges, because they go, aha, if I don't make any charges, then the Sanguinar will just die because he hasn't arrived from deep strike in time. Then you can play rapid ingress and bring him down 12.1 inches away. He can't be shot, he can't be charged, and then you can make the charge you want to make in turn 4. So it's almost like a fallback, the idea of bringing him in with a rapid ingress, but it's not a bad fallback. Does that make sense? David says, I literally bought 3 boxes of Sanguinary Guard, now they're expensive as fuck. Yeah, join the club, David. I actually just finished painting. I got 25 of them now, and I can't see a way of running more than 5 of them. Maybe if the Sanguinary Priest could join them, I could see a way of running more than 5 of them. You can't Miraculous Savior in turn 1. I don't think you can Miraculous Savior in turn 1, Highland Phoenix, because I think that's a standard. You don't arrive from Deep Strike in turn 1. That's just a standard thing, right? Like, so I don't think you can Miraculous Savior. But if you keep that 1 CP for Rapid Ingress, I think it prevents your opponent being able to kill your I think it prevents them being able to kill a Sanguinar. You just need to Rapid Ingress him. And you might, so it's almost like you can keep him off the board until you're pretty confident your opponent's going to charge. I mean, they could still then just decide to not charge you, and he would die. But it's just something to be worth thinking about, right? Tamiya is better because the glue has a brush. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Tamiya. People talk to me about the Tamiya glue right after I bought, I think I bought a multi-pack of these. And I think this is the first one. So I think I get 2 more of these to go through, and then maybe I'll get Tamiya. But hey, I like it. Benter says old tools are the best. Yeah, cheap old tools. Surfing says he uses Citadel glue. I really hated the Citadel glue. So, but if it works for you, it works for you. Don't gotta you can get on just fine using the cheap, nasty stuff. I mean, I actually made quite an in-depth video on my Dante. Tried to get all the mold lines. I even drilled his barrel. It's the first time I've ever drilled a barrel on a 40k model. I did it all on camera. And I used all my old nasty tools. So, for once, I don't think I'm happy with the way I drilled the barrel, but I did it. I tried it. Hopefully it makes some of you guys that watch me happy. That's why I did it. I figured that someone in the comment section was going to be like, you didn't even drill the barrel, you heretic. James, good evening, brothers. Valrak calls this channel membership chaparunios. Is there a strange Scottish term of endearment you have for us, John? Oh, that's a good question, James. He calls them chaparunios. Is that actually a thing? Like, would someone in English say, like you know, it's a sort of like, in England, would you actually say, come on, old chap, or something? You hear it on, like, Only Fools and Horses, but do you actually speak like that? Thoughts on the Librarians of Dreadnought to get the Centurions across the board, says Brick. I mean, it's probably your best option in that the Centurions move 4 inches, Brick. It's either that or reserve them, right? That's a good question. I mean, we need... I don't know if we have a Scottish term of endearment, a slang term of endearment that means friend. I mean, we've got pal, but I mean, that's usually used more offensively than friendship, even though it's like a word for friend. It's very cute if you go first and your opponent cowers on turn 3 instead of coming out to play. I mean, it is cute. But rapid ingress means you can save your... My point was that you can save the Sanguinar. You do not have to bring him in your turn 3. You can wait and see what your opponent's going to do in their movement phase on turn 3 and then decide. Whereas, like, I think when we'd spoken about it before, I'd kind of forgotten that rapid ingress was a thing. Maybe you'd remembered. Candace says no Sanguinary Priest and Sanguinary Guard. Yeah, I mean, like, what is that? Like, I was speaking to Mark for a few minutes today, and I was basically saying, like, there's 2 things I'm not liking about 10th edition. And the 2 things are, one is, like, building army lists I don't think is as fun or as flexible because, like, the static points costs, like, I just don't like them. You know, like, you get to the end of the list and you're, like, 5 points over and there's nothing you can cut to fix that and you're just stuck 5 points over and you're like, before you could be like, oh, well, I'll drop a power sword or I'll drop a chain fist or something. You just can't do that now, which is kind of... It's removing some of the fun for me in list building, I guess. And then the other thing is, like, the unit restrictions. You know, like, Mephiston is on the same size base as Blade Guard. He would be awesome with Blade Guard. The other unit that's good with Blade Guard is the Judiciar, which basically have the same buff as Mephiston, right? They have the Fight First buff. Mephiston has the Fight First buff. But we can't attach Mephiston to Blade Guard. That's just one of the restrictions you're not allowed to do, and it's like... same as the Sanguinary Priest can't attach to Sanguinary Guard. It's like, it's very... I hope... Like... I was going to say, Mark's going to come into this chat when in the middle of telling the story and then flame me, but I'll just tell it anyway. I'd said to Mark, like, I think it's a good thing that we aren't getting our codex at the start of 9th edition, and Mark was like, oh, you really want to wait around for like a year to get your codex? Like, because that sucks when you have to wait a year. But honestly, I think the codexes that are going to come out in the first 6 months are going to have like those super crazy restrictions that we're seeing right now, where it's like Sanguinary Priests can't go with Sanguinary Guard and silly restrictions, whereas maybe a codex that comes out a year from now, like the Blood Angels codex, hopefully, the restrictions are going to be a bit more sane or a bit more neutered down, or I don't know the right phrase, but it's going to be less restrictive, I guess, is what I think is going to happen. And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen, because I don't like some of the restrictions. They don't make a ton of sense to me. So I think it's the restrictions and the army list building. But I tell you, the new Warhammer app's pretty good. If you haven't downloaded the new Warhammer app, I think it's called like Warhammer 40,000 the app or something, like, came up right on the front page of the Apple Store for me today. And it looked like you can build a list in the app just absolutely fine. Like, you know, they joked on their stream that the app actually works now. It does look like it works. It does look like you can build a list fine. So maybe Battle Scribe, there's a lot of problems with Battle Scribe at the moment. Maybe those problems will disappear and everyone will just use the app. Seeing the new rules for Calgar, I wish Primaris Dante came with 2 Primaris Sanguinary Guard Honor Guards. Well, I think when we get our Codex Highland Phoenix in a year's time, whenever that may be, or maybe a little bit more than a year, whenever, I do think when we get the Codex, I think there's a good chance that we will get Primaris Sanguinary Guard. Or something of that nature, right? Like I think that will happen. Reziel says we've never agreed on a topic more. Preach it. We'll have to do a joint video again at some point this edition, Rez. Anyone that's been on the channel before for a joint video, we'll have to do it. I'm just always pretty busy, but We'll have to do some videos. We're gonna have to. I don't know. Like, I wonder if some of the army list being so like restrictive is because we're basically running off indexes, and maybe when we get like codexes, the points will become a little bit less restrictive, or a little bit more. Maybe there'll be some more options. I don't exactly know. That's what I'm hoping. For me, it's power level in disguise, isn't it? And I'm not a huge fan of that. It's so annoying and arbitrary. Yes, I think that's the problem that I have with the army list building is maybe not that it's bad. It's just arbitrary, right? Where it's like, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, what Mephiston can go with 2 shooting units, but maybe not like a close combat unit. Like Mephiston, I guess he can shoot better than he could before because they've made psychic shooting. But for me, it's just like, Mephiston is a melee character. He wants to be doing melee. I want to attach him to a melee unit, and I'd like more than one option. Chat, I can't find a rule in 10th edition that says reserve units not in the game by turn 3 are destroyed. Oh, interesting. Maybe they took that out. I was going to say the strategic reserve unit, strategic reserve rules. Where's the rule book? They're at the very end of the rule book. No, I think that's the designer's commentary. Core rules. Maybe they took that out. Let me see if I can see it. Because there was a specific section for strategic reserves, and they did loosen. So it says strategic reserves are units that are not just deployed at the start of the battle. Can't exceed 25% of your force. You can't put fortifications in. During the second battle round, set them up wholly within 6 from the edge, not the enemy's deployment zone. From the third battle round, set them up wholly within 6 of any battlefield edge. They cannot be set up within 9 inches of any model. Yeah, so it doesn't sound like strategic reserves are destroyed now. If they're left on the table. Anyone else confirm or deny this? Good spot. The app is good for list building, but it's pretty clunky. Yeah, it's a little bit clunky, I suppose, if you have to go into each unit individually and look at their data sheets, because that's pretty slow. I think it's going to be a good idea to buy the cards, or as a bunch of people have already done, they've just printed off their own cards. So, I mean, if you already know your army list, you could possibly just print off your own cards. You could laminate them now. That's so much better, though. Like, that's actually a big improvement, where, like, you don't need to buy the codex, I suppose, if you don't want to. So, like, you probably still need to buy the chapter-approved books and stuff like that, which is fine. But yeah, if you don't necessarily... If you've got your rules and you don't need that, then that's fine. I think I'm actually pretty happy with that. I'm not happy with that shoulder pad. I've been using some of the Incursor shoulder pads, like those half shoulder pads for these Desolation Marines, because their missile launchers sure do like to obscure or make it difficult to get the shoulder pads stuck on correctly. I'll show you, because I did it on this one last night. I used one of these shoulder pads that's got like the little like indented bit. I think this is like an Incursor shoulder pad, because it just felt like it sat in there a little bit better next to the big gas gun. I mean, it's still not perfect, but yeah, maybe have a look for a few more of them. I'm going to leave this shoulder pad off and just start on the next model, I guess. John, is red piled on points being power level? Red piled? What does piled mean? Sorry. I'm betting Primaris Sanguinary Guard will be on 40mm bases. I mean, they could be, I suppose. I hadn't really thought about base size. Would they be as chunky as Blade Guard? Like, you genuinely think that they'd be as like as large a model as the Blade Guard? I mean, maybe. What are Primaris Death Company? What size of bases are those guys on? Surely Primaris jump packs are on the horizon. I mean, I had thought Primaris jump packs had been on the horizon for like years at this point. I think the best chance we have of getting them are probably with like a Blood Angels Codex, like a year down the line. I think if we were getting our Codex at the start of the edition, I don't think we would be seeing Primaris jump packs. I think we'll see them either with a Blood Angels Codex, or we'll see them with like, you know how we got like Shadow Spear in 8th edition and 9th edition we got Strike Force Augustus, albeit Strike Force Augustus was very, very late in the edition if you compare it to Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear came out like halfway through the edition. So I don't know how I feel. I've been waiting for Primaris jump units so long, at this point I don't even know if I want them. I think I just want what they've done with the Terminators. So I think I just want like essentially like true scale Primaris Sangre Guard, but if you still want to run your standard Sangre Guard, you can still run your standard Sangre Guard. You just buy the new kits because they look nice and they're a bit flashier, right? You know, you can come in with a deep strike with a storm raise and disembark closer than 9 and shoot. You can never arrive closer. If your transport arrives 9 inches away, once you disembark from the transport, you still need to be 9 inches away. You can't use that disembark to get closer than the 9 inches. I think a few people have also been confused by the Reavers, thinking that like you can arrive from deep strike with the Reavers 9 inches away, then shoot and get additional movement. You're not allowed to use anything that can let you move after you arrive from deep strike. So as far as I'm aware, you can never get less than a 9-inch charge from deep strike, unless of course you are a unit that has like +1 or +2 to charge, right? And there's a few of those, like Dante with a Sangre Guard is +1 to charge. Primaris Company Champion is +1 to charge. Chapter Champion is +1 to charge, and then the Death Company Dreadnought is +2 to charge against monsters and vehicles. So I mean, arguably one of the best things you could do if you want reliable charges from Deep Strike is put 2 Death Company Dreads into Deep Strike. That's gonna and go after your opponent's monsters and vehicles. That's gonna kind of be your most reliable option. Death Company are on 32 like all intercessors. Yeah, I mean, unless I think Blade Guard are kind of... Are Blade Guard like an exception to the rule? They're just on very large bases. Models are only getting bigger these days. I mean, I guess they will be bigger. I can't imagine that they'll be on 40mm bases like Terminators, but I guess who knows? I don't know. I don't know anything about Primaris jump units. I don't know when we'll see Primaris jump units. I'd been hoping for them like all the way back in 8th edition. So at this point, I'm just getting on with what I've got, because who knows when they're actually going to come out. If you'd said to me it would be 6 years of Primaris Marines and we still don't have a single Primaris squad with jump packs, I'd be like, if you told me that 6 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. No way. I would have thought at most we'd have had to wait like a year for Primaris with jump packs. But who knows? I mean, it's like 7 years now. Or, well, I mean, if it's not this year, it'll be 7 years. We'd have had to wait. Considering they started the release, I mean, you know, one of the very first Primaris units was like the Inceptors, right? With the Gravis armor and jump packs. I mean, albeit Inceptors aren't a melee unit, so they're like, I guess what I'm saying is like a melee jump unit, right? I mean, if they did Gravis armor with jump units, then yeah, maybe they'd be on like 40mm bases. You think we'll see some new Vanguard veterans because of the change to heirloom weapons? I think that might make the most sense, right? Like, they are trying to normalize weapon options. You can see they've done that as well with the Sangre Guard, where it's like four Sangre Guard have like quote unquote and Carmite weapons, and one guy has a power fist. Blade Guard are in 40mm. Incursors can come just outside 3 inches but cannot charge. Yeah, and I think Inceptors can come outside 3 inches but cannot charge. But what I'm saying is, like, I think if you're arriving from Deep Strike, you're always going to be expected to... If you want to be able to charge, you're going to be 9 inches away, right? I think that's going to be pretty standard. It's been standard for a while. I don't think they're trying to change that. Well, I'd say flat out that they're not trying to change that, right? I saw the new Kratos rule. So sad that you can't use it properly. Yeah, I saw the new the Leviathan Dreadnought rules today. Actually, the Leviathan Dreadnought basically looks like it's not. I called it a Redemptor Dreadnought. It's basically a Redemptor Dreadnought, or whatever you call that new chassis, like Redemptor Dreadnought, Brutalis Dreadnought, Ballistus Dreadnought, whatever that. We just call it like the Primaris Dreadnought chassis. The rules for the Leviathan are basically a Primaris Dreadnought. Like it looks the same wounds, same save. It's got an Invun on it, sure, because the Leviathan always had that, and then its weapon options are probably slightly better than the Redemptor, but they've actually in some ways kind of got slightly worse now because a bunch of the ones that were good before are now twin linked, like the Volkites and stuff like that. So arguably they're more balanced. So I honestly can't understand why Leviathans don't have points costs, because they just look like a Primaris Dreadnought. Like their rules literally are, you could almost, like, if a Leviathan fought a Redemptor, I feel like it's a totally even battle. Those two things are the same now. They are the same. But for whatever reason, Primaris Leviathan Dreadnoughts are not allowed to have rules anymore, or competitive rules anymore. Maybe they want to sell new Redemptors, but I mean, I have 3 Redemptors, right? And I'm about to have 2 Ballistuses, and I'm about to have... And I have a Brutalis. So I have 6 of those Primaris Dreadnoughts, and I have 1 Leviathan. So arguably, if I was going to buy another Dreadnought, it's probably more likely to be a second Leviathan. So at that point, is it even about selling models? I don't know. Steel Rain's going to be running double Vindicator. I was tempted with the Vindicator. You think it's going to be good, the Vindicator, with even at 205 points? I mean, it's expensive, but I suppose it's quite tough, and it's got quite a lot of shooting on it. Well, here's the question. Because I think I want to buy another Primaris tank. Or I want to buy another tank. Obviously, right before 10th edition came out, I just finished a Vindicator Laser Destroyer, which I can't use now, and a Turek Siege Roll, which I can't use now. But I mean, I guess that just sets me back to the same place where I probably was before, where it was like, I just need a little bit more armor, because I don't have much. So now I'm in the case of, I just need a little bit more armor. What do people like more? Do you guys like a Gladiator Lancer, or do you like the... And bear in mind, it's pretty easy to magnetize a Gladiator. So you can magnetize a Gladiator to do all 3... Lancer, Valiant, Reaper. Like, you can do that. You can magnetize it. So, like, is the Lancer better? Only 1 Brutalis? Well, they don't sell the Brutalis as an individual kit at the moment, so it's not easy to get, Smithy. I did see that there was, like, copies of Strike Force Augustus on eBay, and they're not too expensive. But then at that point, if I bought another Strike Force Augustus, I would like 15 heavy intercessors, and I really don't know if I don't know if I'm going to run any heavy intercessors. Mike says the Lancer is top. Rezio likes the Lancer. Eternal Crusader is like the Lancer. Highland Phoenix is not much fun. Not a fan of the... You read the rules on the Lancer, right, Highland Phoenix? If you use the main cannon, you can reroll, I think it's a hit, a wound, and a damage. Like, it looks pretty interesting just because you can get a bunch of rerolls on it. But yeah, I mean, I guess it just has 1 gun. So I guess you could be right, like a single shotgun. But if you're rerolling, it's got a lot of AP on that single shotgun as well. Yeah, I just got those forge rolled units like honestly, like January, February, March. I think it was like April. So like the laser destroyer, I hadn't even finished painting. It was like 80% painted. I was actually going to move on to it next, probably before the Desolation Marines, because I was I don't know. I've always kind of wanted to have a laser destroyer. So this leg doesn't fit very well. Makes me wonder if I cut off the right leg. I'm sure I did. I'm actually really wondering if I cut off the right leg here. Should have probably dry fitted it before I Right, it was 24 and 23. I'm going to check this. Was this? Did I actually cut leg 23 off? $24. No, I think I cut the wrong leg off. That'll be why it doesn't fit very well. Okay. Get distracted when I'm reading all the chat, it's fine. Would a Librarian Dreadnought be a staple for every Blood Angels army at the moment? I mean, the redeploy of infantry units is huge. The feel no pain against mortal wounds is huge. So, I mean, I did a video talking about like my first Blood Angels list just earlier this week. Absolute Predator, and I did include the Librarian Dreadnought, and I did speak about why I think it's good. It's hard. He's expensive, and he doesn't have the character keyword anymore, so he's going to be hard to hide and protect. But I feel like he's very good. He's got a lot of utility. Yeah, leg folds a bit better now. Oops. If you don't glue your Gladiator kit in certain positions, it can also be run as an impulsor. I didn't realize that. I think some people had done that. I assumed that you maybe had to do the conversion. Yeah, because a Gladiator kit is basically an impulsor, isn't it? Just with a turret added on top. Let me get a bit of tissue paper. Highland Phoenix says his anti-tank was always Melta or melee, so it's going to be difficult to shift your mindset. It is going to be a little bit difficult actually when you think about it like that. I haven't seen too many people getting excited about Melta though. But I mean, I'm going to try and run some Melta on Saturday, but I'm going to run the Strength 10 Melta, multi-Melta, and it's like, it's the right leg, but it's the wrong knife. Don't you start on my high-quality hobby knife. You can magnetize an impulsor too. I mean, what's to magnetize? The shield dome? I mean, I guess you could magnetize the shield dome, but I feel like if you're running an impulsor 90% of the time, you're running it to protect infantry. You're not running it for a missile launcher, but maybe you are. Chris is building some Primaris-sized assault squads. Probably serve you well for the future, Chris. Save you when they inevitably release them. We just don't know when that's going to be, when we're finally going to get those Primaris jump units. The Gladiator Lancer actually shoots 2 times, strength 14 -4. Yeah, it shoots 2 times, and then what is it? You reroll a hit, wound, and a damage roll, or what's the actual ruling on it? I'll pull it up. I'm really tempted to run the Lancer. I was really tempted to run Redemptors, but they're really expensive. Each time this model is selected to shoot, you can reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, and 1 damage when resolving its attacks. So you shoot the 2 laser destroyers, you miss 1, cool, you reroll that one. You roll for your 2 wounds, your strength 14s, you probably wound on 3s, you miss 1, or you fail 1, you reroll that one. And then you roll your damage, well, assuming they can't save very effectively. What was it, -4? -4, yeah, so I mean, if they don't have an invulnerable save, they're probably not saving. So, and then it's D3 plus 3, isn't it? D6 plus 3, actually. Okay, yeah, maybe the Lancer is really good. So it's D6 plus 3. You roll a 1 and a 4, while you reroll the 1. So it's just very reliable, even though it's only 2 shots. Like, its reliability, I think last edition, it used to be, let me remember this correctly, you used to get +1 to hit when you were shooting with the big gun, and it was the same 2 shots. I think it's way better now. It's 20 points more expensive now, but I think it's added way much more reliability to it, right? Miles says, nerf those Desolators. Miles, you are going to get the hell desolated out of you on Saturday. Look at this. Here's Desolator 1. Here's Desolator 2. Here's Desolator 3. I mean, I got a super chat tonight, Miles, for $50, and I mean, that buys like 8 more Desolators. I mean, Eldar have been overpowered and broken for far too long. How do they feel about indirected fire? You know what's actually the most disgusting thing? Like, the most disgusting thing you could do in the game right now, I think, is 30 Desolation Marines and Gilman. Like, I think that's insanely broken, honestly. Because what you can do is you can give one unit full hit. You can pick one enemy, reroll all hits and wounds. Shoot them with 10 Desolation Marines. Make sure that the Desolation Marines have some buffs on them, right? So you can get, like, if you're shooting a 10-man squad, you're going to get, like, at least 40 shots. You can get bursting 6s. You can hit on 2s. You can reroll your 1s. I don't know, you can wound on 3s or 4s. You can reroll all your wounds. I think 6s are auto wounds as well, because you can do lethal hits. So you can do all this mad shit from one 10-man squad of Desolators. That's not even including the fact that if they can see you, they can also pump out 10 crack missiles. Then, if the Desolators do kill that one squad of guys, then with Gilman, you can move Oath of Moment to another target, and then shoot the other 10 Desolators, full hits, rerolls to wound, to another target. I was like, I did the maths on it, right? And if you were fighting like Sisters of Battle, if they had 2 squads of Retributors with multi-meltas, squads of Retributors with multi-meltas were really not nightmarish in the last edition. They fill out the squad with all the guys, right, to basically like be ablative wounds for their multi-meltas. Indirectly, so without even seeing them, you can kill both squads you can kill both squads, like completely annihilate both squads. And then you still have 10 Desolation Marines left over that haven't even shot yet. And that's only used like half your points. Not even half your points. It's like, it's horrifically broken. It makes Sanguinary Guard at 43 points per model look like an absolute joke. Yeah, your toughness 3 bodies aren't going to last long, Miles. I actually wonder if they could kill the D-cannons. So, like, I'd outrange your D-cannons, because Desolation Marines have more range than D-cannons, right? I have to check that. Yeah, they have 36 inches, so I outrange your D-cannons, so you can't even shoot me with your D-cannons. I just kill your D-cannons in direct fire. And then once I've killed your D-cannons, I just take something else off the board as well, in direct fire, because that's fine, I guess. It's nerf or nothing, says Jason. Yeah, I mean, pretty much they do look like nerf launchers, don't they? So we are playing 2 games on Saturday, I think, me and Miles. And I invited Colin along. Obviously, some of you guys know Colin. He plays Death Guard. And Death Guard are not in a good place right now. Like, I guess they're possibly the weakest 10th edition army. Like, they've just come out really, really badly. The rules are not strong. Their units are not performing well. And I said to Colin, bring along an army list and we'll get you on stream for a game. And he just said, no, I'm not bringing my army. I'll come along, but I'm not playing Death Guard. Like, 10th edition isn't even out. Like, he doesn't even have the box. No one has the box yet because it comes on Saturday. And he's already not playing 10th edition because Death Guard's rules are that bad. So I was like, Jesus. Okay, I mean, we all know the rules are pretty bad. But they're so bad that he's quit 10th edition before 10th edition is even officially launched. I was like, fucking A. Okay. Give Eldar the Miracle Dice mechanic from Sisters and remove its limitations. I don't know why Eldar are so good. Yeah, I think it's just the early... If you remember back to early 9th, there were some problems with early 9th as well. Marines were actually really good early 9th as well. The balance will improve as they roll out codexes, and I don't even remember in early 9th edition. I don't think they were doing balanced data slates. Like, I think that came, like, you might get an FAQ after your codex came out, but they weren't doing like the 3-monthly or 6-monthly balanced data slate. Could have for the moment be balanced a little. Over the moment isn't really the problem in my opinion. It's the indirect fire needs another level of minus to the hit or the wound or the save. Indirect fire is probably just going to be too strong right now. If you go back to 8th edition, it was too strong. I think at the start of the 8th edition, or maybe this was the end of 7th edition. It's hard to remember because it's like 6 or 7 years ago now. There was a point when every Marine player ran 3 thunder fire cannons, right? It was just like you went to a tournament, and every Marine player you ran into was running 3 thunder fire cannons. It didn't matter what faction you were. Some of them were running 3 thunder fire cannons and 3, I think they're called rapier platforms. I forget exactly the name of them because it's been a while. Rapier... Someone remind me, what was it? It was like the rapier quad cannon or something. So you come up against a bunch of Marine players where in their backfield, hidden behind a wall, completely screened, were like 3 thunder fire cannons and 3... There's 2 versions of the rapier cannon. It was like the rapier... There was like a laser destroyer version of it, and there was the quad launcher. Maybe that's what it was called, the rapier quad launcher. It's the same. It was basically the same profile as the Land Raider Achilles had. And like I remember playing Andrew at a tournament, and I think it was just like behind a building, he just has like 3 thunderfire cannons and 3 rapier quad launchers or whatever. It's just like an obnoxious amount of indirect fire, and like they're. You know, there's no skill in it. You're killing stuff. There's literally no skill in it. Because you just pick a unit that you can't see and you just kill it. And that's where indirect fire is right now, I guess. So they'll fix it. I'm sure they'll fix it. Apparently Death Guard is easy. Death Guard have played Burst Crawlers, which happen to be some of the best indirect fire. People are overreacting a bit. Art of War said Death Guard were literally the bottom of the bottom. They said that like Art of War basically did a tier list where they did their normal like S through F, and then they put Eldar above S. They were the only unit above S, which was like My God Broken above S, and then they put Death Guard below F, which was like in a column that was like Y Games Workshop Y. I wanted to play Death Guard because I don't know anything really about them, but apparently they're really, really bad. Mike says Death Guard are unplayable. It's really sad for them. The Eldar are worthless to play. Agents are going to feel like Death Guard versus Miles. Well, we'll see how I fare against Miles. In the last few games me and Miles have played, I think the last 3 or 4 times we've played, it's really who's gone first has won the game. Because we both had quite a lot of Alpha Strike. I don't think Blood Angels have the same level of Alpha Strike we had before, so maybe going first for me won't be so important. But like, Miles played me at a tournament, and he went first and absolutely destroyed me. And then like on stream, like a week later, I went first. And I think both games were like 20. I know I'm saying he's absolutely destroyed me at the tournament, but I think the game we played at the tournament was like, let's say Miles was 75 and I was 55, and I'm pretty sure when I played him on stream, it was about the same. So it was like, last edition, I guess, we would win or lose potentially on who can do their Alpha Strike, because when me and Miles play each other, we always both deploy pretty offensively. So we're both deploying, hoping we go first, and then whoever goes first actually has an advantage. So I guess we'll see. We'll see on Saturday. Rapier Quad Launcher. That was what it was called, Smithy. Thank you. Yeah, the Rapier Quad Launcher. There was a time when every Marine player ran like 3 Thunderfire cannons and 3 Rapier Quad Launchers. Because there was a time when Thunderfire, like, I can't remember. I think it was like 4d6 shots or something. It was ridiculous. Colin has played a couple of games on TTS. Yeah, he got beat both times by Andrew in TTS. One time Andrew was playing Chaos Knights. I think Chaos Knights actually look really scary. I'm worried how Imperial Guard will be able to have their own artillery set on 2s, especially the ones with 2 wounds. I've heard Imperial Guard's artillery is actually pretty good. I don't know. I haven't played against it. Well, I haven't played any games of 10th yet, I suppose. So, I'm not a fountain of knowledge for playing other factions yet. Hopefully that's going to start this weekend. Blood Angels look great. I'm pretty happy where Blood Angels are. I think we're fairly balanced. I think there's probably some pretty cool nuanced play we can do that other people won't be able to predict or counter very well. So I think Blood Angels have come out in an okay place. I think it's certainly okay enough to last till until we get our codex, right? Because we know we're gonna have to wait like a year for the codex. Miles thinks Eldar are going to be tweaked next week. I think just some of the rules where it's like they can get giant amounts of devastating wounds and stuff like that, maybe. I mean, that's the sort of thing that needs tweaked, I guess. I was very sad to see that the Falchion can do 48 mortal wounds from one of its guns, but it's now Legends. Man, I would have loved to see the look on someone's face on stream when I was like, right, that's 48 mortal wounds. Enjoy. That's crazy, isn't it? Have I taken off the wrong... I haven't taken off the wrong one again, have I? I think I might have. How's this supposed to stick on here? $20, $27. These little like ammo feeders on the Desolation Marines are not the easiest to figure out where they're supposed to stick, honestly. Some of them seem like easy to get on. Others are just not so much. I never quite know which angle. I'm gonna have to let that dry for a minute. Alright, getting ahead of myself here. I built 5 of these Desolation Marines already, and the previous 5 I built, I took them all off the sprue at once and then realised that there were these little ammo, whatever these would be called, ammo feeds, were actually a nightmare, and had to go back and work out one by one which one's supposed to stick to each guy. And no, I don't know how that's supposed to stick on there. Yeah, Blood Angels forgot that we were jump pack and melee and gave us no jump pack bonuses. I mean, that does feel kind of accurate. I mean, Dante has one, but like I was honestly looking at Dante and I was sort of thinking to myself, like, would a captain with a Thunderhammer be better than Dante now? Because Dante has +1 to the charge, right? And he has the battle shock after you've charged. And I mean, the battle shock after you've charged, I suppose, is pretty nice. I suppose it's going to be hard to argue with that. But the captain's going to give you 1 more strength, which on the Sanguinary Guard is going to put you on a break point. If you use your... like, a captain's going to make it much easier for you wound vehicles. Like, toughness 12 vehicles with Sanguinary Guard are going to be much easier to wound on a captain. With a captain rather than Dante. And then the other advantage of the captain is that you can use Red Rampage on the Sanguinary Guard, even if it's been used elsewhere, for free. So I think there's an argument there to say, and if the captain's the Warlord, then the Sanguinary Guard still get their -1 to being wounded in combat as well. So I'm confused on the. I'm confused if Dante is actually all that good. If you give your captain a storm shield, then he has the same wounds as well. I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'm gonna move on to the next Marine. You can glue the ammo belt together first, then glue it to the model. I found it was way easier this way. Oh, okay, interesting. Thank you for the tip, Exo. Glue the ammo belt. I mean, I guess if you glue the ammo belt together first, then it would sit at the right. You would know which part of the back of the model it would sit on. I found that with enough tinkering, those ammo belts did sort of like. There's like a nuke that you can get them attached to, but it's kind of sometimes it can be kind of hard to find. Anyway, I get 2 more Desolation Marines to build. Hopefully I can get them both built tonight. Do you think Blood Angels are more shooty in 10th edition? I don't know if I necessarily think we're more shooty. What I think is armor is going to be more important. So being able to deal with armor is going to be harder, and that's arguably why, like, you could argue a captain is probably better than Dante now, because if you want to deal with armor, then a captain will let your Sanguinary Guard wound armor on 4s, whereas Dante's only going to let them wound on 5s. That's quite a big difference, especially if you use your Oath of Moment. Then, you know, when you wound on 4s with the rerolls, then you're wounding like what? 75% of the time, whereas if you're wounding on 5s with rerolls, it's like 55, so it's like 20% better chance to wound. That's quite a lot. Like, it's quite a big difference. So yeah, I'm not sure I necessarily think Blood Angels are more shooty. I think we'll probably see people run more shooting units because we might need that like high strength from some of those shooting weaponry. But like as a chapter, no. I mean, I suppose unless you talk about Tycho is pretty shooty. Tycho is like an enigma. Like I don't understand Tycho's rules at all, but I've looked at it and thought, like, man, Tycho with a Devastator squad might be interesting, right? I have a Dante Smithy. It arrived yesterday. I think I said to you, in Discord that Mike was sending me one. So 2 people have reached out. Actually, 3 people I think have reached out this week and offered to send me Dante. So I've got one finally. I mean, I cancelled my order of one today actually, and I'm now tempted to spend some money on Desolation Marines. I haven't decided. Probably not going to buy it. I really think it's either going to be a Gladiator Lancer. Yeah, I'm going to stockpile Dantes. Do you know what? If I get, I was going to say, if I get another one, I'll either send it back or we'll figure out what we're going to do with it. I was going to do. I have got like a limit. I've got a limited edition book I wanted to do something for charity with, because I haven't. I was going to say it's not the best time to do a charity thing with all the cost of living crisis going on, but I was thinking of doing like a charity raffle where it's like a £1 a ticket or $1 a ticket. So I mean that could work. What am I missing? The Desolation Marines are more complex to build than you might think, actually. This should be enough to get this next one started. Tycho can't lead Devastators. Alright, so he has to lead the company champion squad. Yeah, this is what we're saying I didn't like about this edition. It's like all the different arbitrary requirements of what units can be led by what is not great. Was my Dante from Element Games? It was, but it wasn't the one I ordered. Apparently it was somebody that got it ordered from Element Games, and then I actually don't know. Mike was in chat earlier. Maybe he can tell you. But he said that he did order it from Element Games, but he panicked because he didn't think the order went through with Element Games and ordered one from somewhere else. Thoughts on fighting Nids Monster Mash, says Patrick. I was going to say, so Miles is building a Nids list, so hopefully I'll get to fight a bunch of different monster-based Nids lists. Like most of the monsters in the Nids list, I imagine, are going to be toughness 10, right? See, this is why I was thinking, like, maybe I do want to have, like, Brutalises and Redemptors in my list, so I can still eat up big monstery creatures. But the thing I don't like about Brutalises and Redemptors is their lack of invulnerable saves. And I think their lack of invulnerable saves make them weak, and that's why maybe, like, so... Like, Brutalises with their double multi-meltas, I guess, could be useful. Redemptors with their plasmas could be useful. But then those things are very weak against, like, if you look at that new, what I was talking about, the Gladiator Lancer, the Gladiator Lancer will rip Redemptors apart because Redemptors won't get to save. And this is why, I mean, this is the whole problem that we've been having the whole edition with Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Like, Redemptor Dreadnoughts were really powerful for, or will they get to save? They'll get to save on a 6, because they're a 2-up save now. But, I mean, I hate saving on just 6s with, like, a really, really expensive unit. And that's what I was trying to say about, like, Melta and Plasmas have got a bit cheaper, right? Because they're not good into vehicles anymore, but they're crazy good into killing infantry. So, like, when Sanguinary Guard get hit with Meltas or Plasmas, which are cheaper now, they're only going to save on 6s because they don't have an invuln save, and that can be pretty rough. Like, 43 points a model, that's pretty rough. Reziel says, don't overestimate those Desolators. Ran them for a while now, and they're not just a win button. They can get taken out before they do enough. Well, I'm going to hide all mine. Reziel, so they can't get taken out. I'm going to shoot them for indirect fire for a turn or two. And then I'm going to use Librarian Dreadnought to teleport them somewhere obnoxious and kill a bunch of stuff with Oath of Moment. That's my plan. I like Grav Cannons, 12 anti-tank, 2 up, 3 damage shots for 120 points. Sounds good for me. Yeah, I think that people have been saying that they like Grav, but then other people have been saying that the AP on the Grav weaponry isn't high enough to make them scary, which I guess is which is one way. You could just use intercessor bodies with missile launchers. Yeah, I mean, that's possible as well. Could totally do that. a Dante into a Smash Captain conversion. That's a cool idea. That is a very cool idea, actually. I put a spare set of Sanguinor wings on Dante. I also put a decapitated Bloodthirster on his base with a broken horn, because Dante obviously broke his horn and then decapitated him. But yeah, I mean, he would be good for a Smash Captain. I kind of wish I hadn't put the wings on him now, and maybe I would have put the wings on the Smash Captain. But hey, I was going to say, I don't know if I have another Sanguinor kicking around. I probably don't. I still like... I was basically made the call on, I'm going to put wings on Dante if I don't think they end up giving me too much of a disadvantage in terms of like his profile. I don't think they do, because the wings are about even with like his gun, and his axe sticks out more, so I just went for it. Why not, eh? I was really lucky to have a friend that had a Bloodthirster that they didn't want the head from. I actually had last night I had a Keeper of Secrets head as well. Or maybe it was a Lord of Change head. And I was like trying to figure out which one would look best on Dante's base, but I went with the Bloodthirster because I think it would make more sense. Alexander McLeod says, hello from a fellow Scottish Blood Angels player. We have quite a few Scottish Blood Angels players here, Alexander, but thanks for dropping past. I hope you watched the football last night, even though it went on to like midnight. It was good, wasn't it? I don't own any Razorbacks, but I like the idea of Razorbacks in the new edition. I mean, they're pretty cost effective. Eradicators into Nids? Yeah, do you know what? Eradicators into Nids might actually not be a bad shout. I have, like, Eradicators were a unit that I kind of went on and off of all the way through, all the way through 9th edition. It was like I would go to a tournament and run some Eradicators, then I'd come away from the tournament and go, I don't think they were that useful. And then next tournament I would run them, or Eradicators could be the unit that we need. Death Company with hammers and devastating wounds with full rerolls. That's why, like, earlier in the stream we were talking about, like, Predators with, like, the Annihilator with, like, twin las cannon on top, 2 las cannons on the side. I think las cannons are going to be, like, I can't remember the last time I said this, but, like, I honestly think las cannons are going to be really useful. I have like a las cannon Devastator squad that I might end up running. What do you think of Blade Guard? I'm going to run some Blade Guard in my game on Saturday. But from what I've been hearing, people are saying Terminators are more valuable than Blade Guard now. I'm going to have to see that to believe it. I would, like, at the end of 9th edition, I really liked 3-man Blade Guard squads. I thought the 3 men were really useful. Like, if you just had 100 points here, or you just needed something with an invulnerable save, you could throw in an objective. But it seems now like the way people want to run the Blade Guard, or the way people I think are excited about the Blade Guard, is to run them in a big block.
Donated $5 via Super Chat. It's been far too long, but I'm finally back on the 40k train, boys.
It's been far too long. Emperor's Son, where you been, man? I know where you've been. You've been in the gym. Like, my Facebook feed is full of you taking the gym selfies. You got to get out of the gym. Like, no one in the stream wants to go to the gym. We all just want to sit around and drink beer. I was going to say maybe occasionally have a smoke and play 40k. That's what we want to be doing, man. How are you, dude? Thank you so much for the $5. Space Marines, you're in luck. You're coming back to the game when Space Marines are actually like top tier faction again. There's a legitimate argument whether or not Blood Angels detachment is going to be better than the default Space Marine detachment. So my thought is this Saturday's live stream, I'm going to do one game as the Blood Angels detachment, and I'm going to do one game as the default Gladiator task force, which is the detachment everybody can go. Because I think I like both. I think I like both detachments. I honestly think both is strong, and like until I play a few games with both, I don't know if I can pick a clear winner. The thing that makes me like both the most is the advance and charge from the doctrines, right? So like Blood Angels up until now, like literally have never had a way to advance and charge, or at least when I've been playing Blood Angels, I can't ever remember a time when we had the ability to advance and charge. But with the Gladiator task force, we do have an ability to advance and charge, and if now it's going to make sense to put a squad in like a Land Raider and drive that Land Raider forward in turn 1, if you're the Gladiators detachment, you can go into Devastator Doctrine. So you can actually advance your Land Raider in turn 1 and shoot all its weapons like it didn't advance. So shoot its las cannons and all that nonsense. Then in turn 2, when your jump units disembark your Land Raider, well, your Land Raider is already, I don't know, at least like probably average like 13 inches forward. So you disembark 3, so you're 16 inches forward. Then you jump forward 12. So now you're 28 inches forward. Now then you advance, so another 3 on average. So you're 31 inches forward. So your jump units, which are completely safe in turn 1 because they're in like a toughness 12, 16 wound Land Raider, are now 31 inches forward and can charge whatever the hell they like. I mean, that's assuming average. Like if you roll high on your advance in turn 1, or you could roll high on your advance in turn 2, then you could be another handful of inches forward as well. So Surf Song says you can't rapid ingress inside 9. You can never be within half melt range anymore, right? Because half melt range is 18 inches now, so you'll never be able to arrive from reserve within half range. Yes. Crozier says I've got my first game against 10th against Imperial Knights on Friday. Any advice? Opponent is bringing a Castellan, Warden, Canis Rex, some Shaft, and a few Armigers. Going to the gym and being healthy is awful. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. I exercise literally every week, and I take my kids to exercise every week. So exercise is great. I'm just joking. It's 40k is better though. Beer is essential for gains. Yeah, exactly. I actually drank so much beer the other night when Scotland beat Norway at the football. It was ridiculous. The generic detachment does give a lot of flexibility. Like the generic detachment is nice. I'm going to run both, but I think probably I will end up doing tournaments in both detachments this edition. I think like when you build your list, you would either build your list to be a Blood Angels, like you would either go with a Blood Angels detachment because it makes you that much better in melee, or you would go for the other detachment because I think it makes you a bit more maneuverable and adds a little bit of flexibility. So I think you have to look at it that way. Like, I think the Gladiators detachment will be better if there's not a lot of terrain on the board, just because you'll get more abilities to advance and charge and stuff like that. But you do give up some damage in melee, so you just have to be aware that you are sacrificing damage. But I suppose, like, if you're running a 10-man block of Sangre Guard, do you really need all that? Like, you don't need 10-man... Like, 10 Sangre Guard attached to a captain or something, they're going to kill anything they charge. So, arguably, you don't really need the Blood Angels +1 to strength and attacks. You'd probably be better just taking the Gladiators so you can get advance and charge when you need it. Right? A little tip for Desolation Squad, there's no need to glue the cracked frag portion to the main gun. Well... too fucking late. I'm just gluing it right now. I think that if I was going to run these guys as a different loadout from the super frag to the super crack, I would just write it on my army list and just, no one's gonna care. If I don't think anyone cares, Alexander. WYSIWYG might even be gone now because people are going to have tons of people are going to have tons of units that don't have optimal weapon choices anymore because of the new rules, and where all the weapon choices are now free, basically. So I think some people might be still really keen for people to run WYSIWYG. I think you probably don't need to. I don't think WYSIWYG is going to be as important as it was before. I really don't think it is. The best form of exercise is lifting a Thunderhawk gunship onto the table. I mean, that's probably some serious exercise, but that's also probably pretty scary. Because if you drop that, I was going to say, that's going to be real-life tears. I think a loss of list building is going to depend on missions and the secondaries once we get used to them. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think, like I put Voidsman at Arms still into one of my lists, because I still think that, like, that 5-man squad of battle line Voidsman is going to probably still be pretty useful. I guess we'll see where people end up landing on those. I still like the Voidsman at Arms. I think they're a good unit that can, like, if you need units that can do actions, some of those agents of the Imperium are going to be pretty handy, right? How would I decide which detachment to use? I think you would just decide when you're building the list, right? You would decide if you felt like it was if the list needed to do most of its damage in melee, or if the list could get... Because I think the only way you can get +1 to wound is if you're with the Blood Angels attachment, right? So I think, like, if you need to get +1 to wound to kill things, so if you want to run like a full jump list, like we used to do in last edition, then I think you have to be the Blood Angels attachment. If you're willing to run like a couple of Redemptor Dreadnoughts or a couple of Gladiator Lancers, and I don't know what other good shooting we have now, Desolation Marines and stuff like that, I think you get totally fine doing Gladiators. What's funny is the Whirlwind actually does damage now. Can you believe it? Candace says that Dante smells and it's Gladiators all the way. I'm going to run both. We'll run both this Saturday, Miles, and see how we get on. But I think both are good. I think Gladiators might actually benefit me more because I tend to not conform to, like... I've always ran Dreadnoughts with my Blood Angels. I like Dreadnoughts. I remember, like, at one point, I think somebody told me that, like, are you even Blood Angels because you run 3 Dreadnoughts? And I was like, you know, I think around the time that someone said that to me was, like, the time that I was, like, a whisker away from winning a GT. And in my GT list... I had a squad of Terminators, which, let's face it, nobody ran in 9th edition Terminators except me. I had a squad of Blade Guard Veteran, had a squad of Sangre Guard, had no Death Company, and I had 3 Dreadnoughts. So I was probably the only Blood Angels player running 3 Dreadnoughts and Terminators. And, I mean, on another day I could have won the GT, honest. Do you think Voidsmen are better than the Extraction Squad? I think the Extraction Squad are probably better, but I don't own any Extraction models. And I'm not against buying new models, but, like, I get so, like... If you could see my desk right now, there are models everywhere. Literally everywhere, right? Like, I got... On this side of me, I've got Blade Guard that need painted. I've got Judas ERs. I've got Assault Intercessors with Thunderhammers. On this side, I've got Death Company that are like 99% done. They just need a coat of varnish next time the humidity goes down. I've got Desolation Marines. I've got a Death Company Dreadnought. I've got Dante. I've got another Firstborn Dreadnought. I've got a Land Raider. Like, my desk is just literally covered with models that I have never finished before because they've never been that competitive. And I'm looking at them now going, oh shit, these are all really good. Sorry, Gladiators can get +1 to wound from Honor of the Chapter. The Sanguinor, people think Sanguinor is an auto pick. I've included the Sanguinor for one of my lists this weekend. I think he is very good. It's a little bit naff that he doesn't like join or buff anyone. He's just doing his own thing. But I think what he's doing on his own thing is actually really good. And I think the lone operative keyword gives him like quite a lot of survivability that maybe he didn't have before. So I'm surprisingly okay with the Sanguinor. I think I can understand why some people think he's an auto-include. Will I include him in every list? Possibly not, but am I going to try him out a couple of times? I think 100%. The Storm Raven was the big transport that was exclusive to Blood Angels when it came out, yes. Sean says, I'm finally building my Sangry Guard. Painting Noddles is going to be a nightmare unless I go sub-assembly. I don't do sub-assembly on any of my guys. I used to, and I end up just making a mess of them. So, I mean, if you're going to struggle to get your paintbrush into a section, you could argue that anyone without a magnifying glass is going to struggle to see in there, Sean. So, I mean, I've done a painting video for Sangry Guard. It's one of the few painting videos I've actually made on the channel. If you search Battle Ready Sangry Guard, you'll see my video, and I magnetized his arms, which I guess in some ways gives you like pretty good access to his wings and his I was gonna say his wings and his jump pack. So maybe that's all you need to do. Good evening, Miles. I'll see you on Saturday. Text me tomorrow if you're dropping off any models, and we'll sort it out. Intercessor Squad or Death Company Intercessors? I mean, nobody runs Death Company Intercessors, and a bunch of people run Intercessors. Maybe my thought was, if you don't know what you're doing, would be to just paint them Death Company. And then you could probably use them as generic intercessors in a game because paint jobs don't really matter anymore. I have every intention of probably running my regular intercessors because I've got like 30 of them. I have every intention of running them as a squad of Death Company intercessors at some point in the near future, just to give those Death Company intercessors a bit of a run out / test or whatever you want to call that. You know, you could probably, like, some people have been using Sanguinius from Forge World as the Sanguinor model. I mean, I guess that might not be valid for a tournament, but, yeah. I don't know if I would say the Sanguinor is a meta pick. He's more a counter pick, right? Like, he's just going to, like, he's a counter pick that can protect and snipe enemy characters. And it can just make your opponent need to, if they're going to charge you, they're going to need to charge with something significant. I like him. I really do, actually. I just, until I get some games under my belt, I haven't quite worked out how this edition is going to play. Like, you know, I haven't played any games since the character attaching rule comes back, or whatever you call that. Yeah, attached characters. So I need to feel like, how much value are we getting in attached characters? Like, is it definitely worth always having characters to attach? 35. How about the Tactical Warsuit in 10th edition? Do you know what? I don't own any of those Tactical Warsuits. Do you know what? I kind of skipped over them, honestly, when I looked at the codex, because I guess I don't own them in it. No, don't. No! Oh, I found it, thank goodness. Tiny little bit of the missile launcher rolled off. Tactical Warsuit, let me look. How many points was a tactical warsuit now? I probably shouldn't have skipped over them when I looked at it. It's just they've been trash ever, like, I feel like ever since they came out, they were in a bad place. And I never really I never ran into anyone using them that I was scared of them. Okay, so they're move 8, toughness 8. It's quite low toughness, but I suppose 12 wounds is decent. 3 up save. Once per turn, your opponent's shooting phase, when Adeptus Phobos infantry within 6 of this model is selected as a target of an attack. This model can use this ability. If it does, after that enemy model is finished making its attacks, this model can shoot if it was your shooting phase, but when resolving those attacks, it can only target the enemy if it's an eligible target in that unit. Okay, so it's got a Frag Storm Grenade Launcher, which is meh. Heavy Bolter, I guess that's okay. An Incendium Cannon, which is like a Flamer. D6 plus 3, Strength 6 minus 1, 1. That's not too bad. Twin Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers. I mean, they're just Strength 4, no AP Stubbers. And then the Fists. The Fist is decent. The Fist is actually kind of crazy. Strength 14. I don't know why it's got more strength on its Fist than a Redemptor Dreadnought. Like, really? I mean, it's got a spindly little arm, comparatively. But okay. Can you change anything? You can change the Incendium Cannon for a double autocannon. I mean, personally, I'd probably change it out for the autocannon. Strength 9, minus 1, 3 damage. But how many points was the warsuit? It's still 160. Get out of town. No way. No, I don't like it 160 points. I mean, I guess... I think it used to be 160s and Redemptors went up to like 225 from like 180. Man, like, what? Tell me why you like the Tactical Warsuit, War Thunder. Anyone in chat like Tactical Warsuits? Like, what am I seeing? What? Like, your army's gonna have one Phobos unit in it, maybe 2. So maybe like once per game it can shoot back. It doesn't have that great shooting. Like, it has a strength 9 minus 1 cannon, which twin linked, and it's like 3 shots. It's got a heavy bolter. I mean, that's fine. And then beyond that, it's just got a bunch of strength 4 firepower with like no AP. So the heavy bolter, you'll get like 2 hits. Against anything big, you'll get 1 wound. And they're going to take 1 save at minus 1. Maybe the autocannon gets 2 wounds. They get to take 2 saves at minus 1. Like, Scout 8 on the Warsuit. I mean, I think Scout is objectively worse than Infiltrate, right? Like, Infiltrate let you go anywhere. Scout 8 just means you can move out your deployment zone 8 and you have to hope that there's some cover just outside your deployment zone. I don't know if they're that good, but it's the Scout that people are looking at for melee. I mean, yeah, I guess if it can get into melee, it's not bad, but I don't think it'll get across the board. It's only toughness 8, so it's actually kind of like... We've talked a lot about how Melta and Plasma are going to be weak. Well, Melta and Plasma are actually pretty strong against the Tactical Warsuit, right? Because they'll wound it on 4s. He's only got a 3-up save, so against Meltas, you're getting no save. Against Plasmas, you're maybe saving on 6s. So if people are taking Plasma as a cheap way now, because Plasma has got cheaper, people are taking Plasma or Meltas to deal with infantry, like a cheaper way of dealing with infantry, then they'll just tear the Tactical Warsuit apart. And that's kind of what happened with Tactical Warsuits for me, because they're on the same size base as a Redemptor. So because I have 3 Redemptors, and me and my friends are, although we play competitively, we always let people proxy stuff so that they can try it before they buy it, because, you know, Warhammer is an expensive hobby, and sometimes you don't want to buy everything. You want to try stuff before you go ahead and spend like £200 on Tactical Warsuits and then go, oh my god, these are hot garbage. Why did I waste my money on these? So, my thought about it is, like, it feels to me like the Warsuit's going to have the same problem it had in 8th edition, and or 9th edition, sorry. Like in 9th edition, occasionally you could get the war suit into melee, and when it was in melee, it was okay. It would kill a few Marines, but it wasn't exactly super strong. It killed some Marines, sure. And I guess it would probably be the same here. Like if you get the war suit into melee, what, you got 5 attacks hitting on 3s, so you make about 3 hits. You wound Marines on 2s, I guess, because you're strength 14, so you make about, let's say you're lucky, you make all 3 wounds, they get a save. So like it kills 2 Marines, it kills 2 intercessors. But then it's like super exposed out front of your army, and they just pick it off because it's not got an invulnerable save and it's not actually that tough. I think in the last edition they were only toughness 6. I mean, toughness 8 helps, but I mean, people will be running multi-meltas and they will be looking for targets for those multi-meltas because they're not going to be very, like, you're not going to be shooting. Like, if you've got an option between shooting your multi-meltas at a tactical warsuit and probably killing a tactical warsuit, or shooting your multi-meltas at a land raider, you're probably going to shoot them at tactical warsuit, right? So I don't know. Nathan says, why take a tactical warsuit when I can take armigers for less? If an armiger is less than a tactical warsuit, then I would just fly out, never take the tactical warsuit, I guess. You plan on running 2 demi squads of incursors and infiltrators? Why so many troops? Like, what's the play? I mean, like, I feel like elites are, I always say elites are called elites for a reason because they kill stuff. Like, they're an elite unit that will kill enemy units. Like, troops don't kill units. I mean, yes, occasionally, I suppose intercessors did get their weapons buffed. Quite a lot, actually. You know, the heavy and the assault keywords added to the bolt rifles is actually pretty nice. Like, don't get me wrong, I like that. I think it's much stronger. But yeah. I mean, tactical war suits, if you've got them and you want to run them, go for it, but like I don't own any of them, and I can't see a reason. Like, there's so many things that I'm more likely to buy at the moment. The things I'm likely to buy are like, well, let's assume Desolation Marines are going to be nerfed, so they're off the table. If they're going to be nerfed, things I'm going to buy potentially is like maybe a Storm Speeder, probably definitely another Gladiator. If you don't have a Land Raider, maybe a Land Raider. Possibly Brutalis, Dreadnought. Someone's asking what to put inside an Impulsor. 6 Blade Guard. I mean, 6 Blade Guard were kind of the default choice last edition, and I don't think that's a bad choice. What I'm going to be doing this edition, though, probably with my Impulsor, and I'm going to be trying this on Saturday, is I'm going to be doing Mephiston plus 5 Assault Intercessors. And yeah, I mean, Assault Intercessors are going to be useless for the firing deck rule. I mean, arguably, I suppose Blade Guard are kind of useless for the firing deck rule as well on an Impulsor. But, like, I want to get Mephiston and Assault Intercessors across the board quickly. Assault Intercessors with, like, a Thunderhammer. Mephiston with his smite and his nice big sword, and remember he fights first, which makes it difficult for the enemy to charge him. So I'm going to put 5 Assault Intercessors attached to Mephiston in my Impulsor. Origin Painting. Good evening, Evan. How are you? Evan says that Tactical Warsuit looks neat. That's about all he can say for it. Yeah, I mean, the consensus is that I guess people don't love the Tactical Warsuit. I've just never seen them as very competitive. And I did proxy them a few times and try and make them work, but I mean, they just never worked for me. They've lost their sneaky rule from 9th edition. Yeah, I mean, their sneaky rule was the reason to take them in 9th edition as well, because you could make turn 1 charges with their big fist, and you could almost guarantee that you were in range for all those flamers and stuff in turn 1 as well. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I genuinely kind of like having like one of every model. So like I think there will be a time where I buy a tactical war suit so that like I've got one, but I'm not really seeing like a really strong play around them at the moment. Yeah, it's another ill-conceived unit, says Highland Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like that a little bit. Seal Rain says he's looking at Death Company intercessors with rifles. I mean, that would probably be the way to run them, right? What transport would you put them in? I assume you would put them in a transport, right? Seal Rain, I do like that Death Company intercessors get the free heroic intervention. Like, I think that's cool. I was actually in the process. Like, if we roll back like 3 months, maybe not as much as 3 months, 2 months, I was in the process of building 10 Death Company intercessors. I've got them half built to go back and finish, actually. But yeah, I'm not. I was going to say I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced like there's a way to deliver them, which makes me think that like a repulsor maybe. Great Ape says Mephiston, 5 assault intercessors, and Eisenhorn. I think the capacity for the impulsor is 6, right? Which is a little bit annoying. It's got a good firing deck though with impulsor. Like, I did think, like, could I do a squad of Sternguard with Mephiston in the impulsor? Like, would that be horrific? 5 Terminators charged Mephiston and some assault intercessors yesterday, and only 2 remained. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good squad. And the fact that you get to fight first even when charged is pretty strong, right? Benter says, just a quick rules question. If I have the fight first rule and I'm getting charged, do I get a fight first or other player gets to choose? So you would get, if they made 2 charges against 2 of your units, right? And both of your units had fight first, you would be allowed to choose one of them, Benter, and fight with that. And then it would go, then the opponent would choose one because they charged and they also have fight first. But if you only have one unit that has fight first and they charge you, then yes, you get to fight with your one fight first unit before they fight you, which is a change from last edition. Last edition, it didn't matter if you had fight first. If the enemy charged you, they still fought first. But now, any unit that has fight first will be able to fight first even when it's charged. But like I said, if you got 2 units with fight first and they charge both, you'll have to pick which one you're going to fight with. So, I mean, in the Blood Angels list that I was building like 2 or 3 units that had fight first. Because being able to prevent taking damage on the charge, I guess, and then doing that damage first is like pretty crazy. Just midfield support, keep them cheap, 180 points for 10 of them. Yeah, they are pretty cheap, aren't they, for 10? And Death Company intercessors do get a good amount of attacks. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, are you going to run them with the rifles then? You're just going to run 10 Death Company intercessors with rifles. And I assume that, like, just, I guess, their default close combat weapon, which is nothing. I mean, why not? The question is Mephiston with intercessors better than 3 Blade Guard veterans and Judiciar for cheaper? I mean, that's a good question. 3 Blade Guard veterans and a Judiciar is like 175 points, where Mephiston and the 5 assault intercessors are 215 or something. So they're about 20% more expensive. You've got a lot more wounds in that squad, the Mephiston squad, and you've also got protection against, like, incoming psychic attacks from Mephiston. I think you've got a 4-up Feel No Pain against incoming psychic attacks from Mephiston. I think statistically, I was going to say maybe the squad with the Blade Guard are a little bit more survivable because you've got the 4-up invuns there. But I think personally I like the squad with the Mephiston more. Just because I feel like, I suppose you've got to imagine that the game, like, I think the way that I look at it is you've got to imagine, like I always talk about when the game gets strung out, right? They get free rerolls on their hits with their rifles, and then they get to Overwatch, and I suppose they would get to reroll their hits on their Overwatch as well, Steel Rain. Yeah, I mean, that's 10 Death Company with rifles. I mean, it could be worth trying. 5 Hellblasters and an Impulsor wrecked you yesterday. Did they attach a character to Hellblasters or anything like that? Or it's just 5 naked Hellblasters in an Impulsor? I had considered doing that as well. Yeah, I always talk about like when the game gets strung out, and what I mean by that is like when there's not many models left on the board for any of the players. And when there's not many models left on the board when the end of the players, let's say the squads are getting wiped, would you rather have Mephiston on his own on the board, or would you rather have a Judiciar on his own on the board? And I think for me, I would rather have Mephiston because I think he can do more. So I think for me, I like the idea of taking Mephiston more with Assault Intercessors, and I guess dealing with whatever negative connotations might come with that, like less invulnerable saves or however you want to look at it, right? I wouldn't run Mephiston plus 10 Assault Intercessors because I think, personally, I think I'm going to put them in Impulsor. Because I think you just want to get them to the middle of the board as quickly as possible without losing any models. The cool thing about the Impulsor is you've got the 5-up invuln on it. It now has 11 wounds and it's got a toughness 9, so they're really going to have to dedicate anti-tank to killing the Impulsor. And I think I talked about it before, I've been at tournaments where Impulsors have basically won me the game, right? Like, I've put a really good squad, like Mephiston. I'm trying to think what I put in my Impulsor before. I think it was Blade Guard I think it was a 5-man Blade Guard squad I had in an Impulsor, and I ran that to a tournament. And, like, in the first game, I played against, like, a Space Wolf player who had a bunch of Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and he just threw all the firepower from all the Redemptor Dreadnoughts at the Impulsor. And I rolled hot on the invulnerable saves, and my Impulsor just, like, maybe came through turn 1 having lost, like, 3 or 4 wounds or something. And, like, that turn 1 with that Impulsor just won the game, because it was like, alright, you just had to shoot your whole army into the Impulsor. I roll a little bit hot on my invuns on a reasonably high toughness model, and it's like, now you just wasted all your firepower and did nothing to me. I can do what I originally planned to do, which was run the Impulsor to the middle of the map. You're going to have to shoot everything you want at it again if you want to try and kill it next turn, and all my guys are safe, and it's ablative wounds, and it's cheaper than it was now, right? Like, I think Impulsors used to be like 125 with the Shield Dome. Maybe in Arts of Omen they came down to like 115 or something, but they're like 95 now, right? Impulsors are generally quite cheapy. Cheapy? I guess they're cheapy. They're cheap, that's what I'm trying to say. They feel cheap for the amount. Toughness 9, 5-up invuln, 95 points. They lost 2 inches of movement in Impulsors. They used to move 14, now they move 12. But I mean, what they got on them? A couple of Stormbolters. It doesn't matter. You're just going to advance them turn 1. You're not going to care about your Stormbolters, right? Like, if you can't shoot your Stormbolters, it's not the end of the fucking world, is it? Is Assassination still the same secondary? I don't know if Assassination is the same. Hell Phoenix. There was a PDF with all the secondaries linked for Leviathan. if you want that PDF, it was in the members channel in Discord. If you can't find it, let me know and I will send it to you, because I downloaded it and printed it out, so we've got it for Saturday for our live games. Good question. Joe with a million O's is asking, are you going to attach anything to those Death Company intercessors? Steel Rain, are you going to leave them like unattached? What can attach to them? Probably the only thing that can probably attach to them is a chaplain, right? PM Cover says, hi John, greetings from Germany Police Force. The streets are empty. It's perfect time for hobby talk. I mean, it must be like 1 AM in Germany, so I mean, I would hope the streets are... It's a Wednesday night. I always call a weeknight a school night. So like, people don't go drinking too heavily on a Wednesday night, I would assume. Hey, but hey, we're coming to Germany. The Tartan Army, Scotland, are coming to Germany. We are, don't know if you follow football, but we're 4 wins from 4. We only need like 2 more wins, and we're going to the... Is it the European Championships in Germany 2024? I mean, I won't be coming personally because I've got kids and I'll have to watch it on the television, but the Scottish Army's coming to... We're coming to Germany. The Primaris chaplain is pretty trash. He is trash, but also he can help with battle shock and he can make them OC, right? Like, if they don't have a chaplain, they don't have any OC. Jim says you lost a game to an impulsor. That's what I'm telling you, man. Impulsors. It wasn't doing any damage, already killed the unit, and he came in last turn, he stole the objective. Well, I mean, he's going to do that even more now, because an impulsor is like OC3. So you can like steal an objective with a naked impulsor now as well. You can just go and park it on their home field. And I guess the impulsor is better in melee combat as well. So, big winner from this edition, impulsor. Don't knock it till you've tried it. I don't know. I mean, I like impulsors. I ran them to at least 1 GT. I was going to say, did I run that to my team tournament as well? No, I don't think I ran it to the team tournament. But you know, I ran an impulsor to GT. I would do it again. I think it's going to be better this time with Mephisto and the Assault Intercessors than it was last time with the Blade Guard. Our team is currently trash. I actually don't know if the German team is all that trash. I mean, you got Kai Havertz. He's worth like 70 million. Kai Havertz alone is worth more than like the whole of the Scottish team. But vehicles in close combat are going to catch people off. Tank Shock is going to catch people out as well, Serenade. Because Tank Shock will make those vehicles do mortal wounds every time they end up in combat, or any time you charge. You know, like if the enemy just has a couple of wounds left on a character on an objective, you'll just be able to Tank Shock them every single time. What do you think of Storm Speeders in 10th? I like the Storm Speeders. I own one. I think I like the Thunder Strike. Is that the one that after you've shot something with a Thunder Strike, everything else in your army that shoots at the same target gets +1 to wound? I think that's pretty good. I mean, I think there's one that gives +1 AP, and there's one that gives maybe something else, I forget, but I think the one that, I think +1 to wound and shooting is really strong, right? Like, because if you've got like that, if you've got a couple of Gladiator Lancers, you know, we were talking about having a couple of them earlier for like anti-tank. If you've got them, then they're strength 14. So if you give them +1 to wound, then suddenly you're hitting on 2s, or sorry, you're wounding anything in the game, possibly armor-wise, or vehicle-wise, or monster-wise. You're wounding all that stuff on 2s. So that's really strong. Having considered Vanguard versus Assault versus Death Company versus Sangre Guard, which do you think is our most efficient option? I think Sangre Guard are super overcosted. I don't like any of the options that for attaching units to Death Company. I don't think Lamarta's is worth it. I don't think Astrath is worth it, but I mean, I could be wrong on both those counts. And with Sangre Guard being so expensive, if I was going to run a 10-man brick, like a 10-man squad that you just want to be super survivable, I'm going to run Vanguard Veterans, I think. But I think there is something to be said about, like, if you wanted a cheaper squad, I think Assault Marines are going to be really good. I don't know personally if I'm going to run Assault Marines, because they're like the one assault squad that I actually don't own, annoyingly, of course. Always the one that I don't own is the one that gets good, right? But yeah, I think Vanguard Veterans, the fact they can attach the priest, get that extra the extra AP, is it? The priest gives them an extra AP and also gives them 5-up feel no pain. So I'm almost sold on if I was going to run the 10-man brick, it's going to be the Vanguard Veterans. But like I said, the Salt Marines could be a sleeper. Alright, I got 2 guys, and I've got 3 sets of these stupid ammos. I need to figure out how to get these to attach. I was looking at the Hailstrike for +1 AP, its loadout is a bit pants. Yeah, I think the Thunderstrike is better. Someone said that they bracketed a Knight with Oath of Moment with a Thunderstrike. Like, they just, turn 1, they just flat out bracketed a Knight with Oath of Moment with a Thunderstrike. I guess it's going to be very swingy because it's got like D6 on all its damage. But, I mean, Oath of Moment can make hitting and wounding very reliable for just about, just about anything. So let's see, do any of these look like they're the right attachment? God, I was doing these things the other night. I kind of hate these ammo trail things. I think it's because I don't always look at the numbers when I snip things off. I mean, I was looking at the numbers better last night because I was actually building models all last night. I was just watching the Scotland game. And I think when I was just watching the football was delayed like 2 hours. So I think like I actually didn't make as many mistakes last night because I was just chilling. Whereas like when I'm streaming and trying to read chat and then trying to keep up with the things, then I actually just suck at. I'm not very good at multitasking. So let's see, does this ammo pod even fit? None of them feel like they fit on either of these 2 Marines, which can't make any sense because I already did the other 3. Grr. Atlas says, I think Lamartis is amazing. So Lamartis gives you -1 damage. And he gives you lethal hits, right? Is that right? Well, lethal hits counteract your devastating wounds if you're using Thunderhammer ones. And -1 damage, I suppose, is good, but it's usually only good into 2 damage weapons. So you're saying, like, he's really good against this 1 damage type, but against everything else, he's kind of meh. And I guess that's the thing that concerns me, is like, yeah, I know -1 damage is good against 2 damage weapons, but, like, is everything going to be 2 damage weapons, or is, like, just occasionally going to be dealing with 2 damage weapons? I feel like, yeah, sure, occasionally we're dealing with 2 damage weapons. It occasionally isn't most of the time, right? Assault Marines are very good, I suppose, because they get that, like, chainsaw protocol, which gives them quite a cool bit of customization. And I do like that a lot, actually. Alright, so I think this ammo pack has to be this guy. Okay, so leave him there. So this guy must be one of these 2 packs. What war gear should I put on my Impulsor? I'm putting the Shield Dome on mine. I think it's important it survives. What about Assault Squad for a Librarian with Invulnerability? Well, I mean, you can do Assault Squad with Librarian for Invulnerability. It's probably a... Do you know what? It's probably an option that I hadn't considered. I know that a Librarian will give a unit a 4-up invuln. So, yeah, I mean, maybe why not? Why not run a Librarian to give the Assault Squad a 4-up invuln? Maybe that is actually pretty strong. The only problem is when you attach a librarian, you potentially give up attaching other things, but maybe you don't care. Maybe you just want that librarian to give the 4-up invuln, and you're like, I don't feel like I need anything else beyond a 4-up invuln on an assault squad. I mean, there's definitely value in 4-up invulns. Oh, this might be the right one. Okay. Alright, I think I finally figured out which of these silly ammo lines goes with the right model. Cool. It only took like 20 minutes. I think I would probably take the Jump Chaplain. Because the Jump Chaplain will give you +1 to wound, right? Which I think would be really good on Death Company. Getting +1 to wound. What? I was going to say, what else does the Jump Chaplain give? Is it just +1 to... No, he does a battle shock thing, doesn't he? I'm going to find it. A Chaplain... It makes me sad that the Chaplain with a bike isn't going to get much play. Oh yeah, so he gives you +1 to your wound roll, which I think will be really handy because our wound rolls will be worse now. Because our Thunderhammers are going to be less strength. And then there's always Red Rampage. Yeah, but maybe you don't want... Maybe you want to be able to play Red Rampage somewhere else. I think that's going to be the tricky thing, and that's... If you were here earlier, I'm not sure if you were, Jim. Maybe you were, and I've been streaming for ages tonight, like over 2 hours. I don't normally stream for 2 hours. I just got so much Warhammer to do. If you were here earlier, Jim, what I was trying to say was, like, for me, I quite like having the idea of a captain with a squad of Sangre Guard over Dante, because the thing that I like the idea about the captain is, like, you can play Red Rampage for 0 CP, and it also means you could have used it elsewhere on your list and not had to worry about. Like, so if you take Dante, then if you want to use Red Rampage on your Sangre Guard, it's going to cost you 1 CP, and then it kind of restricts you where else you can use it, right? Because, like, well, you could then only use it on another squad that's got a captain that's got Rights of War that lets them use that. That's because, like, I think if you're using the Blood Angels detachment, the thing that might make you really strong is going to be the ability to Red Rampage multiple units. You know, so it's like, oh well, my Death Company could get Red Rampage because my captain can give the Sangre Guard Red Rampage without essentially using my use of Red Rampage, and also it costs me 0 CP. And I mean, like, if you've got a really powerful unit like Sangre Guard that arguably you're going to want to play, like, let's assume you have the perfect game with Sangre Guard and you can jump from enemy to enemy, killing an enemy every turn. What exactly does generic Jump Chaplain do? He does +1 to wound when you make a melee attack. It's just, while this model is leading unit, each time it makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. Each time a model is selected to fight within engagement range, roll a d6. On a 4 to 5, the enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, the enemy takes 3 mortal wounds. So he's a small chance to do mortals, but the main reason he's there is you're just always getting +1 to wound. But yeah, so, like, part of me thinks, like, maybe... I mean, I just got the Dante model. I think he's super cool. I love the sculpt. I had so much fun building him. I spent the whole of last evening while I was watching the football making this guy, and I went to town on removing every mode line. I friggin' drilled his barrel. I've never drilled a barrel in my life. I put a Bloodthirster head on him. I did everything. I filmed the whole thing as well, so I can edit it and do something and talk about conversions. But while I was making it, I was like, man, would it be better to have a captain here? Because then I can just Red Rampage the Sangre Guard every combat. And if we assume their Sangre Guard are gonna live the whole game and they have the perfect game and they kill something every turn, then that's 5 CP saved by having the captain. Dante doesn't do anything for CP now, like literally nothing. So I was like, I love this new Dante sculpt. I had so much fun building him, but I'm like, I mean, I do also love my jump captains, right? I've used jump captains for as long as I can remember, actually, almost in Warhammer 40,000. Alright, cool. We finally got these two guys. Alright. I need some shoulder pads. I'm almost done. I'd rather have Dante's +1 to charge and hit than 0 red rampage. Well, I probably would as well, until you factor in the idea that if you take Gladiator, you can advance and charge. So do you need +1 to charge if you got advance and charge? So it's an interesting question, eh? Now that Thunderhammers and Power Fists are of similar value, I think I prefer Death Company with fists, so they can take an Infernal and Plasma Pistol too. I mean, people used to talk about that. They used to say, like, you can run Death Company with 5... you can run Death Company with 5 Power Fists and 5 Infernal Pistols and be just as competitive as the Thunderhammers. And I quite believe it, and I think you're possibly right. Like, it's not... I think it's genuinely not a bad idea, Alexander, to run the... just to run Power Fists now and Infernal Pistols. It seems like every edition, or it feels like all the time they keep making the best weapon options for this. They keep changing what you want with the Death Company, like, all the time. It's like, oh well, this is good. No, this is good. This is good. I thought you couldn't get +2 to wound. Yes, you can never modify the wound roll by more than +2. By more than +1, sorry. The only advantage to getting a +2, Randy, would be if the enemy has some way to make you -1 to wound. Because then you'd be +2, -1, you'd still cap out as your +1. So +1 to hit is sort of capped, +1 to wound, like plus or -1. The one thing to consider as well, and it's something that we've not really touched on the channel. Oh, cool, I've got one more of these halving cursors. That's exactly what I was looking for. You know what, and I need a random shoulder pad. It usually takes me like an hour to find it. I can't believe I just found one within like 2 minutes. I wanted one of those ones where it's like got that extra little rim thing so I can just get it on the sky perfectly. Thunderhammers. Think about this, and like no one's considering this. The ballistic skill of a Thunderhammer can now be hitting on 5s. This is if you're running Lamartas, because Lamartas gives you lethal hits. Yeah, you're probably right, actually. So yeah, Death Company with fists and Infernal Pistols or Plasma Pistols. I prefer Infernal, but some people... am I lagging, or is that him? What do you mean? Good evening, Sal. How are you? Is the stream lagging, is it? I was going to say, I mean, I could be lagging. I don't know. It seems like it's been healthy tonight. Sometimes the stream is... It says the stream is healthy. All right, okay. So a Power Fist gets 3 attacks hitting on 3s. The Thunderhammer gets 3 attacks hitting on 4s. Yeah, and the Power Weapon gets 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made there for, like, Power Weapons or Power Fists are probably just as good now in some situations as the Thunderhammer. And you want run into the fact that you might find a -1 damage enemy that just makes your Thunderhammers really unreliable. These guys are really close. I kind of want to finish them, but I kind of need to go to bed. It hung for a second. Okay. There was a 29 frame drop. I guess. Okay, sorry. All I need to do is put on a few purity seals, which I feel like I can do pretty quickly, and then I can put on their pistols on the holster. I'll do the purity seals for sure, and then I'll decide if I'm doing the pistols. So yeah, the stream's wrapping up in the next 5-10 minutes, guys. If there's something, if there's a final few questions or anything like that, please shout them out in the chat. I see a bunch of new faces here tonight, actually. So thank you to the new people. It's nice to see new faces. I tend to usually do live games on Wednesday nights. However, this week we're going to do live on Saturday because that is the launch of the new edition. And then typically on Friday we do tactics-based videos. So yeah, I mean the tactics videos at the moment are it's kind of early days of 10th. We're looking at army lists. We're looking at various other tactics. So yeah, if you're new, please do consider subscribing. Thank you for that. And if you like the channel and you want to support me, there's a join button underneath. Underneath all the YouTube videos, you can click the join button and check out more. Good luck on Saturday, John. I have to work, so I'll watch it later. Yeah, no problem, Steel Rain. We'll pretty much be live from like, well, we may end up being live for like 10 hours. We're going to do at least 2 games. We may end up doing 3 depending on the time and how many rule mistakes we make, I suppose. What are your thoughts on Inceptors as backfield harassers? I like Inceptors a lot more in their new points cost, I'll tell you that for sure. I mean, they used to be like 180, they're down to like 115, I think. They can deep strike like 3 inches away from the enemy, so if the enemy leaves spaces, you could sneak onto their objective. Oh yeah, these guys have horrific mold lines on their legs. I noticed this afterwards. I didn't spend too much time on the mold lines on these guys, but they're worse than I. Some of the new Primaris kits seem to have worse mold lines than the older kits. You know that? I don't know why that is. I spent ages cleaning off mold lines on the new Dante as well. Like, it was quite a lot. All right, I'm gonna have to finish these guys tomorrow because it's gonna get too late. You work for 13 hours. Man, that's a long shift, dude. Good for you. I don't know if I can. I'd be dead after like 10 hours. Hey Brock, good evening. How are you? Catching the tail end. Yeah, so this is me pretty much just finished all 10 Devastation Marines. Or Desolation Marines. I feel like probably now that I've finished them, there's going to be an FAQ tomorrow telling me that they're nerfed. That's usually how it works. Juan says drop the Inceptors up high and then they get plunging fire. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of using plunging fire with Desolation Marines as well. You know, Librarian, get Librarian Dreadnought to pop them up high or something. You could do that. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. What's the rule? It's been a while. Like, I read over the plunging fire. How many inches do you have to be up to get the -1? Or what is the actual ruling on plunging fire? Yeah, but I remember the Incursor / Infiltrator kit being horrific for mold lines, and this Desolator kit definitely feels like it's got a good number of mold lines on it as well. Seem like they're slightly more prominent on the front of the legs than the back of the legs, but just try and clean them up a little bit. Don't summon the nerfs. I mean, I don't think I'll have to summon the nerfs. I think we're going to see tournaments with 30 Desolation Marines and 30 Desolation with Marines and Gilman is a horrific combo. I reckon, like, if you were able to obscure all your Desolation Marines, you might be able to beat a 2,000 point list with, like, a 1,000 point list if you use Desolation Marines and Gilman correctly. Like, they're just insane. 5 inches? Okay. I found the Shadow Spear infiltrators to be fantastic. Very little mold lines. Interesting, because I had Shadow Spear, and I don't remember them having bad mold lines in Shadow Spear, but then I bought a individual kit, because I have 2 squads of infiltrators and 2 squads of incursors. And I think it was the incursor kit, which was the kit that could be built as either infiltrators or incursors. Had really bad mold lines, but the kit in, like you said, the Shadow Spear infiltrators, they were like a more monopose kit, or a more, I think they might have been monopose. I feel like they had less options. Move that down a tiny bit. I usually put transfers on the right shoulder, so I want to have a purity seal there, but I don't really want it to obscure where I'm going to put the transfer. Alright, we'll put one on this guy's left shoulder. Jim says, I hope they nerf Desolation Marines, it's toxic. It's just like Eldar. I expect they will. If they don't... I mean, if they don't... Do you know what's toxic is building 10 of these guys as well. They actually took me ages to build. I think I just blocked my glue nozzle right at bedtime. Of course, that's how that works. Oh yeah, definitely blocked it. Rid of some of that. It's funny how they're like, they give you the purity seals separate. It's like, just build them onto the shoulder pads or something. I mean, you just need to stick them on. So move this one round a little bit to not obscure any cabling. Not happy, I'm just going to put it on his leg. Yeah, I always keep a lighter for my glue nozzle as well. It's a good trick for these ones, because if they do ever block, you can just heat them up with like a cigarette lighter and they unblock in seconds. That's why I actually really like this glue. You know, the first time I found out about that trick, I was like, oh my god, I've been trying for like 20 minutes to unblock this glue nozzle. How useful a trick is that? I gave the Sergeant a beak head. I really like beak heads. Try and keep the trend alive, even though Primaris models typically never come with beak heads. So if possible, I'll give my Sergeant a beak head. Why not? Yeah, the mold lines on the front of, and even on the back of these legs, are pretty pronounced. It's always easier to do this like before the model's assembled as well. That's what I did with my Dante. I spent ages with my Dante, making sure that I got all the mold lines. With these guys, this is a very rough and ugly way of doing it. It won't look great, but I suppose it won't look terrible. Alright, last one. This gun is ridiculously stupid. How dare you? I mean, it is stupid, isn't it? Steven snagged a Dante today. Using their shelf. Congrats, dude. I mean, he's still sold out. It's still difficult to get Dante. I get really lucky in that, like, a couple of our community members are just awesome. Right, I'm gonna call it there, guys. I might be able to get those Desolation Marines sprayed before Saturday. I don't think I plan to run. I was gonna say I don't think I plan to run 10 Desolation Marines before Saturday. So I think I plan to run 5 of them on Saturday. I think 5 is enough to try them out. We'll see. I mean, there's going to be plenty more 10th edition games coming on the channel. You know that. They look for like the BFG from Doom. They do a bit, don't they? I noticed bad mold lines on my aggressors that I finished yesterday. Yeah, it's the worst when you get to the end of the model and notice the lines, isn't it? Cool. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I appreciate that. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything in 10th edition that you really want to see in a video, because I'm starting to ramp up on making videos for 10th edition. Be making like 2 or 3 videos every week as soon as possible. Cool. Enjoy your evening, guys. Thanks again for all the new members, the super chats. They are much appreciated. I'm apparently 287% of my YouTube June goal, which is awesome. Thank you. Where can I find the pack for the Desolation Squad? They're in a box called Strike Force Augustus. Augustus is spelled A for apple, G for grain, A for apple, S-T-U-S. Augustus. That's the only place you can get Desolation Marines at the moment, or on eBay. How come our Combat Patrol is garbage? I don't know. Our Combat Patrol doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I saw it today because they released the data sheets for it. Aggressors that don't go in the Impulsor, Incursors that they don't want you to put in the Impulsor, Librarian with Intercessors in the Impulsor. It's a strange Combat Patrol. Desolation Marines are only available in that Strike Force Augustus, or if you buy them on eBay. I don't think they put any ETA when that's coming. Strike Force Augustus, I saw there was one on eBay for £125. I think new it was maybe 105, so it's a $20 markup. That's not horrific. Sometimes on eBay the markups can be twice, 3 times. So that's the only place you can get them at the moment. They were in a fear of missing out box, yeah. The $52 on USD for 5 on eBay. That's probably quite pricey, but if you, I honestly think don't buy them, because I've been on the fence. Like, looking at the rules right now, I want to buy more of them. I want 10 more of them. I want to run a list that has 20 in them. The thing is, by the time I think even by the time I buy them and they come like next week and I build them potentially like at the weekend and get them all sprayed, let's say I just rush 3 colors on them. Honestly, like, I think within a month the rules will be worse. If the rules aren't worse than a month, I'll literally eat one of the Desolation Marines. I'll just eat the plastic and see what happens. No, I'm not going to do that, but that's how confident I am that they're going to get nerfed. Like, they're way too good. They're way too good. Alright, I'll see you guys later this week. Thanks again for watching. Have a good evening. Peace.
It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.